Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Filter. I'm joined by a very special guest. Everyone is a special guest to me. I'm joined by my fraternity brother, Antonio Jafar, not Jafar like Aladdin. I'll make sure I get people's names right. Now, this good brother reached out to me. He listens to the podcast. He's all about positivity and well-being, but he had a special message that he wanted to share that was in relation to his book. And I kind of got it checked, you kind of got a chance to check it out. We've been following each other, going back and forth on social media. But before we get into the episode, Antonio, give the listeners a little bit of an intro about who you are and what you do.
So first of all, I'm really excited to be here. This is really, really awesome. So excited. Antonio Jafar here, author of The Center, How Our Thoughts, Feelings, and Beliefs Shape Our Destiny. And, this book is really about living our life from a place of connectedness, right? When we live our life from our center, which is our place of wholeness, it's our soul, it's our spirit, it's that part of us that allows us to feel in life. And so, when you live your life from the center, the things that happen to you, the people that you meet, the day-to-day journey that you experience in life is totally different. And you feel centered, you feel whole, you feel complete. And when things do go wrong, you have a different sense of feel. You have a better understanding of where to go to get back on path or to reach that point in life where you do feel at peace again.
So take us to the back. So, obviously I said we frat brothers, AKA ill-filled Prince of Positivity. Give us a little spice of where you're coming from, your background. I know where I see you from, but I want the listeners to know a little bit about where you're from.
Oh, definitely, man. So born and raised in the county of Dade, okay. Miami, Florida. And I attended Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida, graduated with my degree in public relations. After that, I moved back to Miami for about 7 to 8 months. I was doing a lot of work in PR and marketing, working with the Recording Academy, the Grammys, as well as BET. And, I always knew that I was going to move to New York City from the time I was 12 years old. My aunt took me to the top of the Empire State Building. And I remember, on my birthday, looking over New York City and saying to myself, I'm going to live in New York one day. And I did. I moved to New York at the end of 2013. And, I switched out of public relations because although I liked doing PR, I didn't really, really love it. Got into education, started a nonprofit organization called I Am King, incorporated here in Harlem, New York, that works to uplift and inspire young men and young boys of color. And, then wrote my book, The Center. And that has truly been a journey for me. And it has really allowed me to see what can happen when we just follow what our deepest intuitions tell us. And, that's just it. I'm just on this journey, bro. On this journey, and also a part of the greatest fraternity, as we know, by Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Gamma Lambda Chapter, Harlem Alphas, 1926. So I'm loving it. I'm loving the journey, and that's my story so far.
I love it. So hey, I love the opportunity of scholarship. I work in higher ed myself, educated brothers. I think that's kind of like if we had the stereotype and we run it, alphas are the men of education. I've never seen more like on college campuses. I think we're and not just college campuses and schools and administratives. I think if we did like a poll, I think a large majority of us are alpha men. We love that scholarship. So bringing us back, I love the journey of new authors or people that write their book, but I like particularly not just what the book's about. I like to learn about the journey of what it came to how to become an author.
Mm.
What was it? Divine intervention? What was like, yo, I'm gonna write a book? Like, did you have like a daydream about it? Take us to the very beginning, or did people, you were doing speaking engagements and people say, yo, can you write this down? How did the book start?
You know, it's been a journey, I would say, since a lot of things started when I was younger, man. When I was, I don't even want to say teenager. Before that, I remember being in 7th grade and my language arts teacher, one day we go into class and she goes, you know, we're going to do a play and I'm going to break you all up into groups and you all have to write a script. And I remember being in my group, and like as soon as I got in my group, my mind just like exploded with joy, thinking about writing the script. It was at that moment that I realized, oh my God, like I can create whatever I want to create through writing, you know? And that really blew my mind, that I can create these stories and I can create this play and I can create characters. And so as a teenager, I started writing books. I would literally have composition books where I would write a series of books. I had a book called Millionaire Boys. And there was like 6. It was a 6-series book, and I mean, I just wrote all throughout my teenage years, man. A lot of fiction, and you know, I stopped writing. You know, that when I got to college, I kind of like really wasn't writing. And in 2016, I went to Brazil, and I was meditating on this hill in Copacabana Beach. And one of my friends took a picture of me meditating, you know, on this hill, on this mountain. And when I got back to New York, I remember I was looking through my pictures and I was going through and I looked at this picture, and that is the moment where the center popped into my head, and I knew right then what I wanted to call my book. And I've always had a desire to write this book. I'm a person that I don't speak, I don't write just to do things. So I had to feel the inspiration, I had to know, and it just started coming to me. And I began to understand like why it was so important that I put this book out and that I did this.
Yeah. So when you did, and I'm just curious, when you spelled Millionaire Boys, did you put a Z at the end?
I did. I did.
Yeah, you know, that's how I heard it in my head. So I don't know, but no. So the centered man, the centered man, as you say, has a very spiritual connection. And you said a lot of things about meditation and all that. When you decided to write this book with that mindset of centeredness and all that, what were you? Do you practice like Buddhism, or it was just the idea of mindfulness and over your years of meditation? How did you get to that topic of centeredness?
So I got to the topic of centeredness because I began, you know, in college on this journey of, you know, I experienced a lot of trauma growing up as a child. You know, my father wasn't really in my life. I lost a lot of family members to gun violence. I remember being 15 years old, 2 days before my 16th birthday, my 21-year-old cousin was gunned down on Christmas morning.
Oh my God.
And, you know, in 2015, 2016, 2017, I lost 3 more cousins to gun violence in Miami. My youngest cousin wasn't even a teenager yet. He was gunned down in his own community in Miami. And so, you know, the plight of that in 2012, on top of all of that, Trayvon Martin, the death of Trayvon Martin, you know, that really moved me. A group of friends and I, we decided we were going to march from Daytona, Florida to Sanford, Florida, and shut the Sanford police station down, which we did. And we came to be known as the Dream Defenders down in Florida. And, you know, that was a really, really big part of me learning that we can't really affect change in our communities from the outside in. that we've got to start affecting change in our communities from the inside out. And, you know, I began to really do this search and this journey within myself, you know, starting to practice meditation and starting to listen to different speakers and just really ingraining myself in reading and really taking a journey. And I began to see how meditation began to just, what I feel like, transform me to be able to release a lot of hurt, to be able to release a lot of pain, and to really begin to feel centered. And when I say centered, it's not that you don't go through things. It's not that you don't struggle or you don't have moments, right? But when you're centered, everything that you go through, when you go through it, you have a different perception, you have a different perspective on it.
Yes.
And you understand that nothing comes in life to tear you down, right? But instead, it's coming to allow you to not stop there, but to go through it and see what's on the other side, because there's something more, there's something greater. And you in your center, you're protected, right? In your center, life is not working against you. Life is working for you, no matter what it looks like. And when you have that core belief, it's about having a core belief that things are always working out for me, that I have gifts, I have talents, and that I am a vessel, right? I'm a vessel, I'm a source for life to flow through me, to inspire, to uplift, and to touch the lives of those around me.
I love it. If people that are not familiar with meditation, and I think predominantly, let's say, I'll be honest, a lot of assumption, black men and women are not just, that's a newer, they think prayer. Is there a difference in your mind between prayer and meditation?
How can I answer this?
From your experiences, and from those two different things, or across, because I've practiced working on mindfulness right now, and when I do mindfulness, I try to not to think of anything, right? Try to breathing and focusing on myself and center, right? That's mindfulness. But then when I pray, for me individually, when I pray, I'm praying to my God. And asking for wisdom, and it seems like it's more like a voice or a conversation with the divine being. So less as in meditation is like I'm trying not to have any conversation. You know what I'm saying? So that's tomato, but that's just kind of my very my experience with the two different ones. But what about you?
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'll give this example. If you tell me you're coming to my house one day, say we're supposed to hang out, and you tell me, okay, I'm coming to your house, and I keep calling you. You say you're coming at a certain time, and this may not be the best analogy, but it'll get us close enough, right? And I keep calling you, It's 12 o'clock. Like, you coming? You sure you coming? You coming, right? You coming? You sure you coming? You positive you coming, right? And you've already told me you're coming, right? Because you have a track record, right? Say that you're my friend. You have a track record of always coming. You've never not shown up. You've never not came through. You've always had this track record. But yet still, for some reason, I have this doubt that you're coming.
Yes.
And so, for me, in life, you get to a point to where you got to stop asking and you got to start expecting.
Okay.
And prayer, and I'm thinking about this now, right? To me, prayer is more asking, and meditation is more about receiving.
Okay.
Because you got to be able. A lot of times, we'll pray. People pray. God, I need this. And I'm not saying that prayer is all about asking, but a lot of times for a lot of people it is.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's not even always physical. Like, yo, God, I got a situation. Please deliver clarity or something like that. Yeah, and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, God, I need this. God, I need it. And God is saying, you've already asked me. Right. And when I say God, I mean, it can be whatever your religion is, universe, God, Buddha, etc. Right. But the power in prayer, right, is that you've asked, right? And now meditation to me is like, that is your opportunity to just allow clarity to come. That's where you allow receiving. And you know, meditation, it looks different for different people, right? You have meditation where you can do guided meditation. Some people meditate for 15 to 20 minutes. I think the important thing is, like, you know, our thoughts around it, like that you have to totally quiet your mind. Sometimes I'm meditating and I can't quiet my mind, or I'm meditating and thoughts are coming. And, you know, the biggest thing about meditation is that you're not trying to control what's happening in that experience. That's what a lot of people have the misconception, is that I need to control my mind right now. I need to stop everything that's happening. And what you really want to do is you just want to observe what's happening.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I agree with you, because I did a mindfulness training, and a lot of it, mindfulness and meditation, it was like, you know, like even just being so observant of just like your breathing, your breath, or your you know, if you need guidance, sometimes they'll tell you to start with your toes and then work your way up your body and stuff like that. So I get that, and then I get the receiving part, and I'm trying to work on it too. You know, my mind, I'm always doing 20 different things and trying to slow myself down. I definitely am still at the lower end of, like, I can only sit still for about 10 minutes. I'm at the if you were the centered man meditation expert, call me the I just got started. You know, like 5-10 minutes is about what I'm trying to do. So take us to that journey. Your meditation, you're bringing that up, is the centered man. As you got in this clarity from meditation, and you would do it, and you would practice this, and you would practice mindfulness. How did you decide what aspects were, you know, just things that, like, this is good for me, or this is what I need to share with others in the form of a book, like, you know, like chapters and whatnot?
Well, I started the book. The first chapter of the book is called "You've Been Conditioned Without Your Permission," and I named it that because oftentimes, you know, I realized, wait a minute, this was not something I chose, right? I didn't choose to create these self-doubting beliefs within myself. This was given to me, whether it was intentional or not. For instance, I remember growing up and being constantly called Blackie or burnt. You know, my brothers and you know, and it wasn't like they were trying to, like, destroy me as a person, right? But I remember growing up and feeling like, at times, like, man, is something wrong with me because I'm darker? You know, it's like, or, you know, growing up with this inferior complex in my mind, right? But what happens is that when we're younger, there are things that have happened to you and to me and to every person on this planet that you may not remember consciously, right? But it happened to you, or you experienced it, and it went into your, what some people call your subconscious, right? And that's the part of you that is may have experienced something, but you just don't remember. You were just too young to remember, but the effects of what you experienced may still be lingering in your life, may still be hindering you in your relationships, may still be causing you to operate in self-sabotage, right? And so if you can, in the book, you know, in the first chapter, I have note sections throughout the whole book. There's exercises throughout the whole book, because, you know, you want to examine, you know, you want to examine. I always say, don't be afraid to examine. Sometimes it's going to be painful, right? Sometimes to look at maybe what happened to you as a child or happened to you growing up. But you know what? As you go throughout the book, I take you on this journey on how to turn your pain into power, you know, and sometimes it's little things that aren't that little that are having a big effect in our lives. And not all the conditioning that happened to us as children was negative.
Yeah,
right?
Man. Yeah.
Not all of it was negative. There's things that happened to me that was instilled in me that promoted love, that promoted, confidence and high self-esteem. So I start the book there, and then we work from You've Been Conditioned without your permission, and we go into the core, right? Talking about the core, your center, right? The power of your feelings and emotions, and then move into, thoughts, and talking about the power of thoughts and self-talk and habitual negative feelings and habits. And it's this journey. And then as you get toward the end of the book, it's like, okay, I know all of this stuff about my thoughts and my feelings and my center, right? But like, how do I actually, how do I use this now? How do I use this? And that's what, yeah.
But I had a question, and, with these thoughts, right? Let's say you're doing this stuff and you're bringing up these painful thoughts. Did you, in this process, though, did you see like a counselor or therapist concurrently with this, or through your training, you kind of felt like you mastered it, or did you need some assistance? Because that could be painful, things you didn't think about, or relationships that, the trauma that you've dealt with subconsciously, and how you process that, or did you have to process that stuff solo, or did you do it with someone else, or, a therapist or whatever?
So, I did not do it with a professional therapist of anything, but I'll tell you this, I definitely did it with a lot of my close friends. Some of them who do have degrees in that field, some of them who didn't. And it's been through the years that I actually went through that process, right? Of just becoming an open book and pouring out different situations and thoughts. And, going back, I went through different transformational courses and classes, right? That also helped me, right? So going through that and going back and speaking with my father, right? Speaking with my parents, really telling my father, this is what it is. This is what happened. And, now me and my father, we have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful relationship, man. It really is amazing. And I just lost my grandfather as well. And, so it really was for me that I've always really been an open book with the people that I've been close with, because as a child, I was very closed up, so, I definitely say that if reading the center causes you to, I've had people write to me and tell me, I really, really, really broke down when I read this, but I now rebuilt my relationship with my mom. I've had people tell me, wow, I understand now what my issue is with my weight. I'm now working out consistently. I've had people tell me I was having suicidal thoughts. You saved my life through this book. Right. And that's right there for me. That is like so powerful, because it's about the result. This book is not about me. It's about if one person comes and says, this book helped save my life. This book has changed my life. That just lets me know, you know what? I followed my deepest intuition, and I did what I believe God and Source wanted me to do. And that's what that's about. I know I'm talking a lot. I just be going and going.
No, I love it. This is that's the point of this show, is the guests. I got to let the guests shine, and I think one of the things that was so remarkable. And I follow your journey on social media. One day we're gonna meet in person. I say that to everybody. We will someday. If I'm ever up there in New York. But one of the things that did strike me as very powerful, regardless of knowing you or not, and connecting to your story, was when you did share with social media how you had your father, and your grandfather in the same room, like ever or something. Can you? And I don't know. I mean, and I know I might be misdetailing the information, but regardless of that, that was very powerful. Not even needing to know you, because of just I am a father myself, and I can't imagine not having a relationship that long with my sons, my two boys. And then also just the other levels, like I want to make sure that my sons are connected to their grandfather. So can you explain that scenario and just how powerful that moment was for you? Because you briefly touched upon it just now, but it sparked in my mind that I want to dive a little deeper into that, because that was such a positive and powerful instance before your grandfather passed away.
I get emotional just thinking about it. You know, when I shared, that was extremely vulnerable for me when I shared that. Because, and I think it's important that people understand, you know, you can be a vessel, you can know everything, you can have all the knowledge, you can do all the courses, but you know, every person on this planet goes through things and still struggles. No one is exempt from that. And, you know, losing my grandfather, I had just got back from Brazil. I just turned 30 in December, and I had another transformational trip in Brazil. And I got back to New York only to find out, you know, my grandfather, his cancer had returned, and it's like stage 3 now. And the doctors, they only gave him maybe like 4 weeks to live. And, you know, my grandfather was a musician. He played for Smokey Robinson and, you know, a lot of other people, Roberta Flack. He was a part of a group called the Platters in the 60s. And so he wasn't really in my father's life. You know, my father told me maybe he probably saw my grandfather throughout his whole life maybe 12 times.
12 times, okay,
right?
Okay, got it.
You know, and in those 12 times, a few times, you know, he spent weeks or maybe a summer with him. But, you know, 12 times to see your father in your whole entire life is, man.
Yeah, no, I can't think of that.
You know?
I'm just trying to think about how often I just saw my kids, like, for a week, you know, say, like, you know, like just being you know, okay, got you.
Yeah.
So 12 times, wow.
12 times, yes, man. And so me growing up as a child, my father, you know, my father was 19. My mom was like 27, cougar.
Oh, my God. Oh, okay, 19, okay.
Right? Yes, come on, you know, okay, look.
I'm trying to do math. That's quick math. And hold up, this is down in Miami?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, you know, as a child, when we're children, we see our parents as superheroes.
Yeah.
You know, we don't understand as a child, you don't understand the things that your parents go through. You don't understand as a child that your dad is only 20, 21, 22 years old.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
He's a baby himself.
Yes, you're not even grown up. Yeah, because that's the first thing that came to mind is like when you see teen parents, I put myself in my scenario like, yo, as a teen parent, like I couldn't even imagine raising a adult as a teenager because I'm barely functioning right now. I'm like a man child right now with 2 boys. You feel me? Like, you know, that's a joke. My wife, she's like, I gotta take care of 3 boys, but yeah, that's crazy. That mindset, you know, like my wife says it all the time. I got 3 boys in this house. I got one. She's like, I had 2 little boys and a grown teenager. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, because you know, I'm out there with frat. You know, I'm throwing. You know, I'm partying sometimes. I joke. You know, I joke with my boys like, man, sometimes I just like playing Pokemon. I'm an actual grown kid. But at the same time, you know, I still do have a mindset of a 35-year-old sometimes, but I still can't imagine my mindset at 19. Not at all.
No. And so, and you know, bro, him being 19, you know, and then not having his father his whole life, right? So his mother, my grandmother, my entire family is in music. My aunt, she's a singer named Betty Wright. My grandmother, she sang with Casey and the Sunshine Band. She was in that band, so she's on all those songs. That's the way, I like it. Do-do-do-do. That's my grandmother on all those records. She actually created that, right? So my father grew up traveling the world. You know, he's the only child. He grew up just very, you know, he had everything, you know, but he didn't have his father.
Gotcha.
And, you know, so I'm growing up as a child now. Now I've been born and, you know, my dad is, you know, I seen my dad throughout my life. You know, my first few years, my dad lived with us and everything when my parents were together. but you know, it was one of those situations where, son, I'm coming, I'm gonna pick you up, I'm gonna do this, don't show up. Son, we gonna be this, we gonna be that, don't show up. And then I watched my father go throughout his life, introducing me to, you know, so many different women, you know, and that just, you know, as a child, you know, it just breaks you. I remember one Father's Day being on the phone with my father and like basically like cursing him out. And I'm like 10 years old.
Oh, you're 10 years old. Yeah, you're checking him up. You're checking him. So think about your age group. So you're a 10-year-old checking a 29-year-old, checking your age, basically.
Right.
Think about that, right? Yeah, gotcha. If you put the math,
But in breaking him down almost, you know, even more, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you never there, you say you're gonna do this. And so that went on throughout my life. Yeah. And you know, now as a grown man, I kid you not, man, it took all of my teenage years, it took, you know, most of my 20s for me to really get through all of that. And, you know, back to my grandfather, so this is a Friday night last month, January, because, you know, he passed last month. So I get a call that my grandfather says, hey, your grandfather is being discharged from the hospital. He decided he wanted to go home. He just wanted to be home. He didn't want to be in the hospital anymore. Okay. And now they're giving him maybe like 2 to 3 weeks to live. So I'm like, okay, I got to get out. I got to get out there to see my grandfather. Yeah. So, you know, one Friday after work, you know, I decide I'm going to, you know, I'm on my way to Long Island. This is the day that he checked out. That night, I'm like, I'm going to Long Island. I go see my grandfather. I get to Long Island. You know, my uncle picks me up from the train station, and all my dad's brothers are younger than him. So I have an uncle. I got an uncle that's 26. I got an uncle that's 28. I got an uncle that's my age. I got an uncle. You know, my dad is the oldest one now at 51. So my uncle, one of my uncles picks me up, and he's on the phone with my dad, and my dad lives in Connecticut now. He's remarried. He's been married for 5 years, and my dad is on the phone saying he's on the way to Long Island. He's 20 minutes out, and I hadn't talked to my dad that day, you know. And so I'm thinking to myself, wait. Like, I really put it together. My dad is about to be here. I'm here. My grandfather, my uncles. It's like literally, I'm thinking, wow, this is about to be powerful. Yeah. And, you know, my dad, you know, he comes upstairs, and, you know, my dad is a bad musician. You know, he's played with a lot of people too. And he walks in the house with his guitar. And man, when I tell you, you know, my grandfather, he could barely move his hands, but he grabbed his guitar. And my dad grabbed his guitar, and we're just sitting there, man. And we just, you know, my dad starts playing, and I just start singing, and we're jamming. And it's just this beautiful moment.
That's dope. And that's what I felt, that even through, you know, like you say things like, and you can say things like, sometimes the world of social media, is it authentic? Is there authentic connections? Or does it help people? Or, you know, sometimes it doesn't hurt, it hurts people. But I even stopped and listened to that post, and I listened to the music you were playing, and I even just got a little choked up, like, honestly. And it was just like, but because I don't know if it was just the caption. If you would have just said jam session with my grandfather, I don't know if I would have. I'd be honest with you. I'd be like, yo, they just playing around. They just playing. But the fact that you said that, how the story behind it, and I got that context, it was like, like I felt that. I even felt that vibe through the post, through the internet per se, because I could see the context, and being empathetic, I could see how that situation would be just a great moment, you know, like,
man, bro,
of the generations together. You know?
And you know what it did for me? It showed me, man, like, you know, like I told you, me and my father have a great relationship now, but to see him be able to unconditionally love his father, right? And to be there as the oldest. And, you know, even when the funeral happened, my dad was the only one out of all my grandfather's kids that got up and read and talked about him and read his obituary. And he's the oldest, and he's also the one that probably spent the least amount of time with my grandfather, right? So it's just interesting how life comes full circle, right? And how when you truly heal from within, it's a powerful thing, because my watching my father do that empowered me so much. And that let me know that, hey, that's not that 19-year-old man. You know, that's not that 19-year-old young boy. He's healed. And as I watched him heal, I was able to even heal even more. So it was this powerful, and my grandfather, he just kept saying that night, he kept saying, we got work to do, grandson. We got work to do. We got work to do. He just kept saying that.
Oh, that's a powerful thing. That should be a mantra, man. I got that.
Oh man.
That's a good mantra.
And I handed him my book when I walked in the door. I signed him a copy, and I handed him my book. And I just remember his eyes got so big when he was looking at the cover, like wow, like this is my grandson.
He created something.
And he put his hand over the book, and he closed his eyes, and he just went into like this deep thought for like 30 seconds as he was just putting his hand over the book, like as if he was praying. And it did something. I feel him. At first I was very see being in the center when you're in your center, you find the more time you spend in your center, the more the quicker you can recover from pain, from grief, from trauma. And people say, so how do you get in your center, right? It's practicing what I call the vibrations, that those higher vibrations in life. So gratitude, love, appreciation. And I could, when my grandfather first passed away, it was, I was really, I was having moments, I was grieving, but over time, as I began to understand that he didn't die, he transitioned. And as I began to move into that mindset, man, I feel him all the time. I feel my grandfather, like I feel him playing music. I feel him, I feel him through me. And it's this powerful, it's this powerful energy, because my mindset is now he's free. He's not experiencing any more pain. And because of that, when I'm up there, when I'm in my center, when I'm walking in gratitude, when I'm looking for things to appreciate, I can also connect with that now when I'm in the same place as he is, if that makes a little sense.
No, it makes 100%. No, man, I'm all about that and living in gratitude. And I've realized, I do a 5-minute journal, and every day the 5-minute journal helps me just think about living in gratitude. And over time, it just compounds itself. Like, you do it every day, you realize that you can bounce back from things, or things are not that serious. So my mindset is always looking for the things to be grateful for, rather than the woe is me. Even in like really terrible situations, I'm not saying things won't happen, I won't get no setbacks, but I find myself able, because I've lived in gratitude as a normal habit or practice, I can catch myself and say, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I grow from this? Even really terrible situations, or what positive thing is happen. Like even in a terrible situation, I realized that a certain amount of friends have supported me. It's like you could find a gratitude part out of it, and that vibration thing is, I believe in that too. I haven't really read the science of it, but I know about people carrying energies, and people that carry a positive aura around them, and you gravitate toward them, or they're nice to you. And then, I have over time realized people that are negative, or negative energies, or drainers, or vampires, that I kind of over time just kind of let them live their life, but I just kind of gravitated away from them, just weird. So I do believe in that stuff, and vibrations and all that things. And I think I totally appreciate that too. No, I totally appreciate that, what you said. And I totally appreciate that you said, like, you can look back at your grandfather and say, well, he's transitioned, but we had that time together before you transitioned, or he's not hurting no more and you transition. That's like, you're right. Your mind, you start conditioning your mind to start looking at situations differently.
Oh yeah, and you know, I want to, you know, I really appreciate what you said when you said you started moving away from people, you know, with a certain energy. But it's also that they started moving away from you, right? Because when you just either you're going to conform to them, they're going to conform to you, or they're going to have to, they can't stay around you. I think that, or when they're around you, right, they can only, there are people that may not like you or may have an issue with you, or you know, they may be a negative person to other people, but guess what? When they're in your presence, they can only show the best of them to you.
Yeah.
That's what it becomes, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can only show the best of you to me, because that's just the energy that I have. Or you're gonna have to remove yourself. I'll tell you something quick that happened right after I found out my grandfather passed away. Right after I found out my grandfather passed away, I was at my desk working at home, working on some stuff. And as soon as I got the call he passed away, I broke down. I cried for a couple minutes. And then I heard something in my mind, my spirit say, type in the Platters, Everett Harrison. That's the group that he was in. So I go to type in my grandfather's name, and I go to type in the Platters. And as soon as I type it in, Google brings up the results. And I see that there's this man that had wrote a book. And in the book, he's talking about my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
So I click on the piece of the book, and it lets me see it. I'm reading, and he's saying Everett Harrison, you know, guitar player, da 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 da. He had a struggle with drugs for a little while, but he cleaned himself up and he got better. And he was performing at this show, and he was singing these words, and you would not believe what the words were. It was the lyrics to there's gonna be a bright sunshiny day, and the lyrics were no more pain. I'm in no more pain. I'm finally free. I'm sitting here reading this literally minutes after I found out my grandfather passed away, right? So to me, this was my grandfather coming to me, letting me know, grandson, I'm good. I'm at peace. I'm okay. I believe that. I believe in that stuff. I kind of believe in that stuff. I believe in that stuff. You know, like, you know, sometimes we try to say like woo woo, and and people think when you're spiritual and all that stuff, the connectedness of worlds. But like, I you know, to be from a totally mathematical, logical probability mindset, it's like, nah, like the fact that certain 1 out of a billion things happen, and that 1 out of a billion occurrence happen at that right second, at that right time, at that, you know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be some kind of spiritual connection, because that 1 second was right there. That was totally appropriate. You know, like that chain of events that you just took us there to that song has to have some kind of purpose. You know what it is, bro? In your center, you see things. In your center, see, you don't have to, the reason there's a saying that says magic only happens to those that believe it, right? And so like the thing becomes in life where people oftentimes, they want to convince other people. Like, I don't need you to believe that was my grandfather coming to me for me to know that, right? So when you, and I'm just saying in general, like you don't need someone else to believe in your vision. You don't need someone else to believe in your goal. You don't need someone else to believe, because you got the greatest power inside of you already. All you need to do is believe. I live in Harlem, and the old building I used to live in in Central Harlem, I walked past that building, maybe 2 months after I published my book. The place downstairs used to be a laundromat and a dry cleaner. Guess what the name of the place is now? The place where I used to live at, the building downstairs is called the Center.
Oh wow, okay.
I walked past and looked, and I just smiled, and I heard God, the universe, speak to me, and just it was just like it was just this it was this relationship, right? When you have a relationship with God and with yourself and with the universe, you have to have your own experience with life, that you see things happen and you say, I know that I created that. I know that that's happening because of what I put into place, or what I believe. And when you get to that place, you realize that everything is really about the relationship between you and your source and your center. And in that place, everything else, when you start believing, that is the most powerful thing that can transform your life. Desire, belief, and expectation.
Yeah. So, with that being said, do you still believe in like, okay, like, divine intervention and stuff and purpose? But then, it's like, my one thing is like, how often is it that should we just plan our lives out and have things planned, or just be open to things and let things happen to us kind of thing? It's like, how do you balance that as a centered person? How do you kind of navigate agency in the universe? Like, how much is in my control and how much is out of my control?
So here's the thing. You and I'm going to say it in this way. It's a little bit of both, right? Because as you go throughout your day, as you are moving, from the time you wake up, you're creating based on whatever thoughts you have, right? So if you wake up and you say, oh my God, another day at work. Oh my goodness, I can't stand this place. Oh my God, I'm so over her. I hate this woman. Ooh, I gotta go and do laundry today. I gotta pack, right? As you're doing that, you're creating energy that is waiting for you. That's going to meet you. Life is always showing you what you are expecting to happen, right? And there's so much more in the book that really breaks all of this down. But the point is that you want to have inspired action, right? You want to have inspired action. Sometimes you won't know the how. That's the thing. When you want to know the how all the time of something, it can mess you up, because it disturbs your ability to be able to flow, right? Sometimes I'll leave my house and I'll hear a voice say, take the train, go this way instead of that way. And what we've learned to do a lot of times is override our deepest intuition. That is the power of meditation, right? That is what meditation allows you to do. Meditation gives you an opportunity to sit with your source, to sit with God. And when you do that, when you come out of that, if you allow yourself to sit, and I'll be honest with you, I don't meditate for 15, 20 minutes. Okay. I don't look, I can't sit that long. I'll be asleep.
Yeah, that's me too. I'm always moving.
I'll be asleep. But it's not so much about how long you meditate. It's about the quality of the meditation, right? So if you meditate for 3 or 4 minutes, what I always tell people is you set your intention before you meditate, right? Okay. That I'm going to allow myself to be in this moment. I'm not going to worry about what's happening outside or who's going to call me. This is my 5 minutes for me. This belongs to me right now. And you start with setting that intention. And after you set that intention, you want to take deep breaths. You want to breathe in. Lisa Nichols, I love her. She says 5-5-5, right? So 5 breaths in, hold it for 5 seconds, 5 seconds out. 5-5-5. And you do that throughout your day. You do that over a period of times throughout your day. And what begins to happen is, as you learn to hear, right? We have so many outside voices. We have so many people trying to tell us what to do, what not to do. A lot of us have lost, or don't really know how to listen to our intuition and our deepest insight. So what I say is that when it comes to creating, it's half and half. You don't want to just take action. Well, let me go do a whole bunch of stuff. You want to feel. Have you ever known or wanted to do something or go somewhere and you could not go? Like
that you committed so much that you can't back out no more.
Well, not even in the sense of committing, but like inwardly something is telling you to go, or something is telling you to call this person, and like you feel a strong it's like a urge, like you can't, like I don't know what it is, but I gotta go to this event, or I don't know what it is, but I gotta call.
I mean, my wife says that, like, my wife says that when I don't care, I'm so aloof, whatever. But she says when I focus, I have laser focus, there's nothing stopping me. Like if I want something or want to connect with, and let me say, for instance, like a person. If there's a person I want to connect with, I'm like, it's somewhat borderline aggressive, but like, I'm like, there's something about you, I have to connect with you. And I'm pretty assertive. And I feel that urge too. Like, and it's more like too, like sometimes like, yo, this person, there's something about this person I know can help me or teach me, like a mentor. And I'm like laser focused, like I need to have lunch with you, something like that. And it's not in a desire to like to manipulate or whatever. I'm like, that person, there's something about that person I know can make me grow. So yeah, I get that urge quite often.
Yeah, that right there is, you want to, and if I can say, if anyone that's listening can take anything from this conversation, it's that follow what is your calling. Follow that voice that's calling you to do something. Follow those. If you kind of like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I should start this business, or I don't know if she's the right one. Maybe, well, you want to know, but you got to get to a place in life where you can be in your center, right? And you can hear clearly. You can feel. Sometimes I'll come out of meditation and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. Like it's almost like my steps will begin to be directed for me. Versus me trying to force myself to figure out what the next thing is. It'll just be directed for me in the sense of like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go do this. Go do that. And another thing is, if you're trying to meditate, and you feel like, oh man, another thought just popped up. Oh man, I started thinking about this thought. Now I'm not, I forgot. All you got to do is, you just got to bring yourself back. Just say, okay, bring myself back, because guess what? Every second that you allow yourself to focus in meditation, you are propelling yourself in the right direction. Every positive thought, every second. And even when you come out of that, you may not feel like anything's different, but I promise you, something is different. Something you just did some inner work to work on yourself and to improve yourself. And so, inspired action. Look for ways to take inspired action. If okay, right now, I really feel like I should go do this now. And sometimes that's going to mean going against your perfect planned schedule. I have an auntie that down to the dot. You better tell her a year, 2 years in advance if you having an event, because she's got it planned down. That's a good thing to be, right? But you got to understand that sometimes your intuition is not logical. Your intuition is not it's not based off of what your mind does not understand everything about your spirit. That's another thing. And so sometimes it's a balance between what is my spirit saying and what is my conscious mind saying. My conscious mind may be telling me this is impossible. My conscious mind may be telling me that there's no way that you're going to accomplish that. My conscious mind may be telling me no one is listening to you. My conscious mind may be saying you're unworthy. My conscious mind may be saying, why are you still doing this? When no one, you haven't gained any new followers, you haven't gotten anything. But what the difference between what your success and what appears to be failure will be is, what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe? You got to believe in what you got to believe in beliefs.
Gotcha.
You got to believe in beliefs.
I believe
and
that.
that's really the key, because the conscious mind, your mind is listening to you. So if you are constantly believing what your mind is saying, well, your mind is saying, well, I'm following you. Because you're not taking any action, you're not doing anything. So sometimes, and this is my last point, when I sat down to write my book, people always ask me, what was, like, how did you ever have writer's block?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have this and that? And I say, I used to have to get inspired to write, but then I began to write and the inspiration would come, right? So sometimes you got to meet the inspiration. You got to meet halfway. Sometimes you're going to sit down and you may not feel right, but you just keep going. You just keep going, and the inspiration will come to you in the middle of you working on it, right? But you just got to put yourself in that place to be an open book and an open vessel for the universe.
Oh man, that's dope. So we're gonna go into a segment. I kind of surprised my listeners. We're gonna do a thing called Shot for Shot, where you get to ask me any random question you want. I get to ask you any random question, and either you go first or I go first. It doesn't have to be related to this topic. It could just be whatever you want to know.
Okay, here we go. I'll go first.
Okay.
What made you want to join the greatest fraternity known to man?
All right. Well,
Fraternity Incorporated.
I had a long journey. And so I was interested in undergrad. At JMU, but life didn't happen the way I turned out. But I would say, just because what I was saying I was interested in undergrad was that being at a predominantly white school such as JMU, I was already a part of a group called Brothers of a New Direction. And a lot of the members of that group would later on, after a semester or two, come out as either alphas or kappas. So the peers I already surrounded myself with on a campus, for a predominantly white campus, the black dudes that I already connected with on that campus were either alphas or kappas, you know what I'm saying? And just, kind of in that mindset, I vibed more. It wasn't, at that point, it wasn't alpha phi alpha particularly. It was more like my friends, it was more chapter focused, right?
Right.
And my father's Omega and my grandfather's a Kappa, so I had all these influences of Greek life. So Greek life wasn't new to me. It was more like, okay, I really rock with all these members at JMU. They're my friends. Didn't work out in undergrad. So later in life, I'm working my job. A guy, Maurice Smith, said, we met, we became good friends and colleagues at GW. And he kind of did his reconnaissance on me and said, do you still want to be a member of Alpha Phi Alpha? And I think for me, that centered mindedness, when I was able to revisit those thoughts of Alpha more as an adult, I'm kind of glad that it didn't work out for me as a undergraduate, 22-year-old. I'm trying to think of my age.
Mm-hmm.
No, was it 21-year-old? I'm glad it didn't work out when I was 21. I think that for certain people, my mindset wasn't there. And when I was able to revisit it as a 33-year-old, fall 17, the reasons why I definitely wanted to do it again, it was either alpha or nothing, was that I started to really, really focus on how the aims and goals align with me as an adult. Manly deeds, scholarship, love for all mankind. Like at that point, I'm like, manly deeds, like how does this align with me being a father or leaving a legacy, for my boys? Like walking in my life as a man. Scholarship at that point, now scholarship did mean something to me. Like I had my master's at that point. I thought education is the key to careers. I'm working at a career center. I'm working in higher ed. I'm like, I'm really all about scholarship now. Like this is my actual occupation. My occupation is totally aligned with scholarship. And then love for all mankind. I mean, just through over time when I did the podcast and positivity and I did all that before joining Alpha. So I was like, love for all mankind. it kind of aligns with my positivity. Like, I love everybody. I want to show love to everybody. Right. So that definitely aligns. So, you know, it was, at that point, at that point, when I was 33, I'm glad it turned out that way. Cause like, I tell people like now, it was either alpha or nothing, like no Greek letter fraternity. And it was either at this moment right now when I'm 33 years old, or I ain't doing this again. Like, I was like, I was like, I'm so fortunate that I had like my line brothers be the line brothers that I had and all that stuff. Like, it was just that, you know, had Maurice, who was my, you know, recommender, and Kevin, who was my sponsor. Like, these people are all aligned at this particular moment. Like, it was either this moment or I'm not doing this. I really didn't foresee myself coming back as no 50-year-old doing this over again. So it was like, I think I grew up into a man that I wanted to be. And lastly, my last point was that I think when I was in college, I was not, you know how people say like, alpha should enhance you but not make you. Like, you should already be a man of all these things, and you should just be like Philip Wilkerson, the alpha, not the alpha that's Philip Wilkerson. I don't think I was really sure who I was in my life goals in college. So I think I would have been swayed differently. I wasn't aligned. And then coming in life, I'm pretty firm in who I am. At this point, I'm 33 years old. I know I'm growing. I know I'm evolving. But it was like, I had things set for myself. Like, I didn't need alpha to make me X, Y, and Z. Now it's just an enhancing me. Like, I'm already excellent in my own. To be honest with you. And so I have an organization of like-minded people that I belong to. Like, I belong here. So I think that's why. That's why I joined Alpha, and right now why it was a good time later on in life. And I tell people all the time too, like, if it doesn't happen for you in college and it's something that you want to be a part of, you could do it later in life. And maybe it's just not for you in college.
Right.
No, maybe in college you're not ready. You're not ready. Your grades is trash. You need to focus on school. You got all these things you need to do. You ain't got no money. Maybe you need to get your finances straight to contribute. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not for everybody at certain times. You know. Right. So that's why Alpha. That's why.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful, man. That really is. That really is.
Well, that took a lot of healing too, because I was kind of bummed that it didn't work out in college, and I had like 11 years. Fall 2006 all the way to fall 17. I have 11 years of just letting that junk marinate. And luckily for me, I had a bunch of line brothers that had the same kind of experiences in different varies. Like, we were called back for the first time because many of us had some journey with it before we came together as an alumni line, that we've had some running with it in college. So at that point, we wanted it that bad. We wanted it bad. Like, we wanted it because we've had it in our mind for a while.
Right. Yeah, man. That's powerful. I love hearing that. I love hearing the journey into Alpha. Powerful.
Yeah, it's different for everybody. We know it's all different. And what's a jump? The train doesn't come when you want it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it randomly comes in random life. You know, like, I wasn't looking to think about doing that again until I met Maurice.
Yeah, like, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, definitely.
Okay, well, that's I had a different question, but now I want to know your journey to it too. Because I know you had Beta. You was there in Beta Nu?
You talking about FAMU?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So like you transitioned in life. You was there. You seen it. You was at one of the like for instance, a few of my people I met, they're around it, and it was like they know it because they were at like schools like Beta chapter and stuff like. So there wasn't at a small school like this jump. Like, it's very present at certain schools. It's very present at HBCUs. It's very present at HBCUs. So tell me your journey with it, and
so
why.
I think for me, man, it was similar to yours in a sense, but a little bit different. Coming from a place where, my mom dropped out of school in the 9th grade. My dad, already knows that story. He didn't go to, no college or anything like that. And so, you know, when I got to FAM, I saw the different organizations, and, you know, I thought it was cool and different things. But I had some issues going on. Right before, I think my senior year, you know, group of friends and I, we decided we was going to start this business, man. And we were just really young. And, you know, I actually ended up homeless, man, in school, and almost did not finish.
Talking about homeless during school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, you know, it was a huge journey for me. And, you know, I got to a point, and I was just like, I'm not doing this. This is not gonna happen for me. This is not gonna happen for me. And, you know, I don't think I had a real understanding of, you know, of like Greek, of like the history and the phenomenal things that our organization, our fraternity, had done, not just for Black people, but for America, right? And so when I got to New York, I told you in 2015, you know, 2016, 2017, I lost cousins to gun violence and all of that. And, you know, then I started I Am King here in Harlem. And I just remember just feeling very like alone in this journey to try to uplift young men and young boys of color and doing this work. And I'm like, you know, like for the first time, you know, you know, being in New York, being away from my family, trying to do this work, I kind of longed and wanted this sense of brotherhood.
Okay.
And the brotherhood that was actually doing the work. And I think, man, what was it? I don't know if it was 2016 or one of those years. I think I just looked it up one day. I was just like, well, let me just see if they have a chapter here. You know, let me just. Oh, okay. And I kind of put it out. I kind of like put it out my mind. It was there. I'm like, okay. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. And the opportunity came. It's crazy, man. I began to have all of these interactions with alphas that I didn't know that was alphas.
Just in New York, just in New York, and just around this.
Just in New York, and I would be at like a conference, and I would be sitting like, you know, on one of our good brother Cleveland Beckett. I'm sitting at a conference and I'm doing stuff, and we're talking, and I'm telling them about this, and I'm this, or it would, and I just started saying, wait a minute, these men are actually like, they're out here working. They're out here putting in the work in our communities. They're, you know, and I just started researching, and then, you know, one of my good friends, one of my good brothers, Brother Greg Bishop, Brother Beckett, Brother Eric Clayette, I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do this, and like it was just in my spirit. It was like God, the universe, set the whole thing up that like if I'm ever gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be now. And man, what a journey! What a journey! What a journey!
It happens for different people at different times.
Oh yeah, and I feel like what you said, like what I got out of what Alpha has given me as a man, and I think about, I almost say, wow, I'm grateful, I'm blessed that I did this that I did it as a 29-year-old, you know, versus an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, because man, I didn't even have a mindset to understand myself. I was still dealing with so many things within myself. So I'm like, you know, the benefit that I get now in the network and the ability to help, you know, I'm the chair of our Voteless People, the Hopeless People, a national program here in Harlem, and the things that I get to do, and the bros that I get to work with, and the influence and the wonderful things, it just really has been amazing. And I'm happy I took the journey, man. You know, me and my line brothers, we're a jewel line.
Okay, cool.
7 of us.
We're one short. We're one short than a jewel line. we got 6 of us. So,
yeah, man, it's great. You know, my back is the Reverend for St. Philip's Episcopal Church. You know, which is the church that was built by you know, one of our jewels, Burton Winston Tandy, and you know, just all of my line brothers, man, the bond that we created. You know, these guys know me. They know everything about me. They know everything. We know everything. Like we've you know, we've been able to experience a lot together, and that right there alone, man, has been transformational. So, you know, that's kind of a bit of my journey, and I you know, I have been able to go back to FAMU and meet bros from new and meet bros here and talk with them and talk about the journey and talk about, you know, our chapter. And, you know, it's really honestly been love all around.
Yeah, me too.
You know,
me too. I call myself the Zaidi reject, but no one's ever really rejected me. Like, it's self-imposed, you know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, just kind of full circle about the love that it is. Like, just coincident, like I said, coincidentally, life and relationships. Even when I stopped thinking about it, it wasn't ever present. You know, I reconnected with the guys from that area for that chapter, and you know, now one of the guys that I would have been close, you know, I still was close and friendly with. Our sons are playing together now. You know, like he actually finished and crossed at JMU, and now we're friends in Northern Virginia. Just, you know, like life, we become connected. So it's like, as long as you give good energy, they had no, it's like I said, it's like a brotherhood that's still beyond that. You know what I'm saying? So I got love everywhere. So this has been a great episode. We definitely want people to check out your book. But just in general, the floor is yours. Any shout out that you want to do, any plugs, but make sure that the plugs you send to me so I can put in the show notes so that the listeners can follow up with you and get all that information. So the floor is yours. Shout outs and plugs.
So I want to shout out my beautiful mother who just turned 60. I want to shout out my beautiful grandmother who just turned 72. I want to definitely shout out my incredible LBs, my line brothers. I want to shout out everyone that, you know, is listening to this podcast. Phil, I want to shout you out, man. Thank you for having me on this podcast. Thank you for doing this and continue doing this because we need more of it. I want to shout out every person out there that, you know, may be dealing with something, maybe dealing with the death in their family, maybe dealing with just some type of pain that may be going through. I just want to say to you that, you know, you are amazing. And, you know, life is not meant to break you. Life just is. And, you know, the best thing that we all have to do in life is just accept and be content, always working for more, but just being content and be in agreement with whatever is happening. Because as they say in life, it's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. And you know, that is truly powerful. So those are my shout outs. And as far as plugs, you can grab The Center, my book, The Center, How Our Thoughts, Feelings, and Beliefs Shape Our Destiny. It is on Amazon. You can definitely check out reviews. More and more people are starting to leave reviews about their thoughts of the book. And, you know, you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All of my handles are Antonio Javar, ANTONIO JAVAR. And you can go to my website, AntonioJavar.com. That's AntonioJavar.com. And you can sign up for my Inspired Living email list. And once you do that, I will email you a free copy of the first chapter of The Center, so you can read it.
Oh, that's dope. The first chapter. Thank you so much. I'm gonna sign up too. And I really appreciate you. You know, the world is so small. Never know if I'm up in New York or we do. I ain't going to Eastern Region because I get no money to go to no Bermuda.
I know.
So you going to that show?
I actually was just in Bermuda.
Okay, see,
I won't be in Bermuda. But bro, if you ever in New York, if you ever in Harlem, it's like the bros here are incredible, amazing. We have a strong unity, strong bonds here. So you're more than welcome. And anytime you pull up to New York, it's you got love, you got bros here. You already know that.
Well, I'll definitely hit you because I got family up in Queens. So if I'm ever up there,
okay, nice.
I'll stop and holler or whatever, or come meet you halfway, or we meet in the middle. I don't even know where I am sometimes when I go up there. But thank you so much for being on the show. So much benefit. Please get a copy of the book. Listeners, if you're listening, please, maybe even if you want to send questions, we're going to do a Q&A episode. Send questions. If one of the questions is related to Antonio, I'll reach out to him to get his answers for the questions before the Q&A episode. So you can send questions to the Google form, or just message me, or you can leave a voicemail at 571-336-6560. I love to do some questions and Q&A episode one day, just to kind of get the listeners' feedback on some things they want to get some insight on. So thank you. It's been a great episode, and I will catch you another time. Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.